Good morning. Welcome to the YAP podcast. My name is Abdel. I'll be your host for today. And today's co-host, I wrote you an intro, you know.
Oh,
let me
my
do this. Let me do
brother.
this. Let me do this.
Okay,
Let me do this. Okay. Ready?
I'm ready. I'm so ready. I'm excited.
I just wrote this like 3 minutes ago. It took me like 2 minutes, but here we go. And to my left is the man with the curls that gets all the girls. He just hit 6 figures and he's only getting bigger. From breaking stigmas down in South, it's getting harder to keep him out your mouth. The man hailing from the UK just surpassed 100K and he's going nowhere. In fact, he's only getting bigger, I swear. Curls, welcome to the show. I got you, man.
Okay.
I got you.
That needs to be clipped, please.
I got
that
you.
was insane. Mate, thank you.
We're making that a clip.
That needs to be a clip.
Yeah,
that was unbelievable. You wrote that in a couple of minutes. That's mad.
Yeah. I just thought, because I saw because everybody was like congratulating you about 100K, and I didn't want to like do it there. I wanted to save it here. So,
Bro,
yeah.
thank you, mate. That was
Nah,
amazing,
no worries,
man.
no worries. Everybody else, don't expect me to do this every other day. This is not happening. This is not happening.
One-off special.
Yeah. Good morning, guys. Welcome. How you feeling? 100K.
Good, man. Yeah, do you know what? It's a weird one. I think, when you have okay, hear me out on this one. When I said, like, I had a bad night's sleep?
Yep.
One of those ones, wake up, I'm clicking some flipping link in my email that's a junk email. Oh, nightmare.
Yeah.
When you have so many little frustrating things, you just go, woof, and you throw it away, and suddenly you get this surge of, like, you know what? Bring on the day.
I hear you.
I'm feeling good. But yeah, the 100K was nice. I surpassed that last night, which was great. I've been, eyeing up that for a little while now.
Yeah.
And I think I'm very happy. It's nice. I think it's a bit strange because what am I trying to say here? 99.9 to 100 is just difference of a couple of followers.
Yeah.
But weirdly, when it hits, you do get this like, oof.
Yeah.
Because you try and visualize that many people. And I think of like my football team, Newcastle, their stadium holds 52,000 people.
Yeah.
And I think basically that, just under that twice over is
What's the name of their stadium?
St. James's Park.
St. James. Yeah, it's two St. James
yeah.
Parks.
That's it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you got it.
That's crazy.
St. James's Park is Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
And also the real palace.
Yeah.
The Newcastle Stadium.
Hey, man. Congrats, man.
Thank you, man.
Must be crazy. Do you have any plans to celebrate it?
Do you know what? I think when I was younger, as in like way younger, whenever I'd get a little bit of success, I would always kind of rest on my laurels and think, cool, I've done this now, let's relax. But now I just want to go harder.
Yeah.
Just want to keep doing more and more and more and more and more. And I think I'm about to hit 50K on Insta. Like I think I'm like 30 people away. So I want to get that up to
I might write you another intro then. Nah, that's big, man. That's big. Congratulations again. Like,
thank you, man.
It's so much hard work. Like I've seen you over the years, just like your content and stuff, and I couldn't be prouder to work with you, like for real. So
my man, thank you, brother, and the same to you, man. Same to you.
Appreciate
How old are you again?
22.
Bro, yeah. I was not doing this at 22. I was in the gutter.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't that bad,
Yeah,
but
fair.
I wasn't like Abdel. So yeah, man. I don't like it when people talk down to people younger than them and sort of say like, oh, one day you'll be this, that. But like really, man, like I mean, I think if you carry on this path,
Hopefully.
I'm frightened about where you're going to be, man.
We'll see. Okay, let's hop into it, man.
Let's do it.
Your attention, please. The newsletter. Subscribe. I'm gonna say it till the day I die. Subscribe.
Subscribe.
The first news article is about A24, the brand that used to be a film distributor turned lifestyle type brand. Now I've gone through like the list that you showed me yesterday of the top 10 films that were on A24. I've also heard of like half of them. I haven't watched a single one. Which ones have you watched, and like what makes an A24 film different than a regular film?
So I've seen Moonlight, Uncut Gems,
Yeah.
and oh my gosh, there was one other which has just escaped from my mind. But I know the highest grossing, which I also haven't seen, which I definitely should see, is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes.
Which, is a fantastic film, allegedly. I've not seen it. But Uncut Gems and Moonlight.
Yeah.
I mean, Moonlight was absolutely exquisite, which, by the way, we'll come back to shortly because I've got an interesting theory about that.
Okay.
But Uncut Gems, have you heard of Uncut Gems?
Yeah, for sure. It's the one with Adam Sandler.
That's it. That's it. It's on Netflix, and Adam Sandler, I think he gets a bit of I mean, for me included. I mean, people criticize him for being this sort of like goofball, sort of like a poor man's Jim Carrey kind of guy. Like, "Ooh." But actually, two things. Firstly, he's a good actor.
Yeah.
Like he is good, and I also think he was I could be wrong. I think he's actually the highest earning actor in the world.
Let's find out.
Yeah, let's have a look at that. I think
Let's
he might
find
be.
out.
But whilst Abdel's looking that up, and what I will say is, Uncut Gems shows Adam Sandler is completely versatile. That is a character that totally different to what he's played before. And essentially, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but the film, it's not that long. It's only about an hour and a half, and it is an anxiety trip, mate. You are the whole time just things are going wrong and wrong and wrong and wrong, and you're like, oh my god. And obviously, I'm not going to, as I say, not going to give anything away, but it is what a ride. It's an amazing film. So yeah, I don't often say like, oh, you've got to watch this film, but seriously, if you're looking for something on Netflix this weekend, please watch Uncut Gems. It's amazing.
He's made just shy of 100 million last year.
Wow,
Just insane.
That's got to put him up there.
Yeah.
Like surely that's the top, or at least very near.
That's not even in the top 10, which is crazy.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, well there goes my fact,
Whoa.
which is incredibly wrong.
But
wow,
it just shows you like the amount of like how absurd it is. Like
that's crazy.
you make 98 million and you don't
still
even
not
crack the top 10.
That's mad. Yeah, goodness knows where I got my info from. So sorry about
No,
that.
you're good.
That's why Abdel's here
You're
to
good.
check those sort of
I don't
things
know.
out.
I just checked
Amazing.
Wikipedia. I don't know.
Yeah.
But which movie was it? Is it everything? Where like they did the whole? Was it Moonlight?
Wow.
Yeah.
And this brings us on to
Possibly.
my theory. So, as Abdel pointed out, they are essentially, you could call them a lifestyle brand. I think that's what the article was getting to, right? It's essentially saying that they use all these different interesting marketing tools and techniques and tactics. Like they use like a fake Tinder profile for one film.
Yeah.
They've done so many different things. This is wild, and this is just a theory that's just literally come into my brain in the last 15 minutes. As you guys may or may not know, at the Oscars, there was a mix-up with the envelope, right?
Yes.
It was awarded to La La Land mistakenly when actually the winner was Moonlight.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if somehow it was an inside job and they knew they were going to win the Oscar.
Right.
And look, this is a wild conspiracy theory. This is not something I believe, but I just like to throw this out there.
Yeah.
Imagine if they had an inside person who deliberately caused this stir to get the film even more attention and make it even more iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wild, but given how innovative and bold they are in their marketing, wouldn't put it past them.
Plus, like that's never happened before in the history of the like award program. And I think that happened. Like, it might have been like a year or two after the main thing happened with Steve Harvey when he did the Miss Universe one. So
yes.
they might have been following that like blueprint.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
Maybe.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I think it's a weird one because look, at the end of the day, with these kind of theories, number one, there's no evidence. You can't prove any of this sort of stuff. And number two, like, you've got to be careful saying this kind of thing, right? Because I don't want to potentially say someone's done something they haven't, because of course I'm just being silly. But stranger things have happened, and realistically, if someone was ever to do something like this, well, we wouldn't find out, would we? They would keep it under wraps.
Yeah, of course.
Way wild. But also, I did at the time, and again, we're getting a bit off topic here, but I do think that, how does that happen? Like, how do you mess up the end? Like, that's such a crazy mistake to make.
Yeah, because would it not just show the name of the winner on the?
Well, this is what I'm
or
thinking.
Does it like make it bold and they had everything else? I don't know.
I think what they do is because it's actually by one of the big four accounting firms, the Deloitte or PwC. I forget who. One of them, weirdly, I don't know why, an accounting firm runs it. I guess for just legitimacy purposes. But as I understand it, they have envelopes of cards printed for each film, so that nobody knows who the winner is, and then before the announcer goes on stage, they are handed the envelope containing the winner. That's what I'm assuming.
Maybe.
That's what I'm assuming.
I hear it.
It's just so if anyone, so it doesn't say like winner Moonlight and someone sees it and leaks it. But wow.
That's
crazy,
crazy.
right?
That
But
is
it
crazy.
would be super illegal, and like I think also for betting purposes, because you could. I'm assuming they offer bets on the Oscars,
Probably,
so if you have inside information, yada yada yada. But yeah, crazy.
I think especially like I remember when that happened, and even like the Steve Harvey thing that happened. It was like just insane. It was like the biggest news ever. Because up until that point, globally, no one really like gave a fuck about the Oscars like that. Like globally. Like, sure, you'd have like your film geeks, I guess, or your film like enthusiasts, but globally, it wasn't a Will Smith moment.
No, you're right. You're totally
what I mean?
right. But also, I think you've hit the nail on the head. The Oscars themselves have they've been in this massive decline, as have a lot of award shows.
Yes.
I think it's a big thing. In fact, Ricky Gervais, who he's certainly much more. I mean, his old. I don't want to be one of those people who's like, oh, I love the old stuff, but like. Ricky Gervais's early stuff, Extras, Office podcast. I was listening to them on the way here. It's from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I loved them so much, and these days it's a bit controversial.
Yeah.
However, Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes,
It's crazy.
It's one of the best
because
things
he kept
I've
doing
ever
it
seen.
for a couple of years in a row.
Yeah.
And it was like,
yeah.
you're not gonna get anything different. I'm just gonna say the
It's the
same
same
shit,
thing over again.
and you guys are still gonna laugh. And it's like,
but in a way, he's kind of that was kind of the nail in the coffin of award shows, because obviously the big thing with award shows was the lack of diversity, and like, you know, as a straight white male, it is one of those things that you never realize your privilege until it's pointed out. And I sort of remember looking at it and was like, yo, this is ridiculous, because the lack of diversity is obscene. So my point is, I think with the lack of diversity, Ricky Gervais doing what he did, award shows were on a massive decline. So you're absolutely right that this actually, it just brought more eyes on the Oscars.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I don't know if it's a coincidence that like that happened and then the Will Smith thing happened a couple of years later. Maybe they need like a stunt every couple of years to like spike it up.
Well, I was quite surprised that Will Smith didn't he win Best Actor? Like
Yeah,
that
he won.
same ceremony?
Yeah.
This is what I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry, if someone goes and slaps someone, surely they're getting kicked out.
Escorted,
but then
something.
he just like stays in and man. I mean,
he did a speech as well.
I know, right? And wasn't he? But also Will Smith, like he's the most family friendly guy, like Prince of Bel-Air, like everything. He was so clean and sweet, and then he slaps Chris Rock.
It was out of character, but I think he just cracked that. I think he was under so much pressure up until that point, because like his wife was doing and saying the most on her like own show. Yeah. And I think that was just like his, I guess, breaking point.
It was, you're totally right. It was a valve releasing, and I think it's always an interesting one, because if you're being insulted yourself or roasted or whatever you want to call it, that's fine, you can take it. But when it's a loved one, whether it's family member, partner, whatever, you know, it's difficult, because if it's yourself, you can laugh it off. But if it's your partner, you don't want to be seen like be laughing. But it's a very, very strange one. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe less is more. Maybe he could have just sat there with like a sort of stony looking face or whatever, but instead he assaulted him.
Yeah, no, I think I don't know. I think it was like a breaking point of, because like up until that point, like the public was just like pressuring them, like the whole family. There was obviously the family's been in the spotlight for like in decades, so like that's nothing to do to them. But to be scrutinized that much on almost like a daily, weekly basis with a new headline just for the sake of your wife's TV show that she's trying to run, I think that slap wasn't just like a Chris Rock slap. I think that was like for everybody like else. Shut the fuck up. Leave me alone.
That's so true. It wasn't about Chris Rock. You're completely right. And I mean, and it's an interesting debate from the Chris Rock perspective. It's like, is it acceptable to make those jokes? Is it acceptable to make any jokes? It's, it's a really, really interesting one. But to regroup back to your point, I think it's super interesting that occurred. The missing envelope occurred. It we'll never truly know, of course, maybe years later, but it's nice to think about.
It's like kind of this term I knew of recently. It's called clip farming.
Yes.
So basically, like I mean, streamers do it now. Like the people that like walk outside in real life and stuff. Like they're trying to find like their next viral clip, no matter what the cost is.
Yeah.
So now in my head, I'm thinking everybody to every single scale is kind of trying to like get a clip. So like that's like the Oscars clip. And I don't know.
You know, you're completely right, and it's interesting. I was speaking to someone literally yesterday about this. Is that what is acceptable in that sort of you know, in that realm? And for myself, I mean, look, I'll behind the curtains here a little bit. I will do little things to get comments and whatever. So, like for example, a classic one that I love to do. I try a lot of chocolate in my videos, and obviously, as everyone knows, chocolate comes in blocks and squares. But instead of breaking off the squares, I will get the chocolate bar and take a straight bite. So you do get an extra, say, 10 comments of like, "Oh, what's going to eat it properly?" But like that's like a silly fun thing. But you're absolutely right that people. Clip farming is such a thing, and everyone's pushing the boundaries so much. It's like, where does it end? Like, where does it end?
And I feel like, I don't know, it's like a very like fine line, because I feel like you can only do it so much up until you become like the boy who like screamed wolf. I don't know.
Completely right. You're completely right. Yeah.
Because like, let's say another 5 stunts happen at the Oscars in the next 10 years. I think people will
they'll
catch on
to it, definitely.
So I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I think you get all sorts of things like people, the ones that I cannot deal with. I know this is a bit less relevant, but when people are like they like climb buildings, like free climb, and they're like, you know, sort of on the edge of a building with the selfie stick like that, and I'm thinking no, that's view, no amount of views is worth
worth it.
Yeah, ridiculous.
No. Oscars, stop clip farming. Thank you. All right, next we'll just hop onto it real quick. Starbucks.
Yes.
Are you a fan of Starbucks?
Mm. You know, it's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
I was before I came to New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
Do you know, people would speak negatively about Starbucks, and
Yeah.
I would sort of say like, "Oh God, you know, you're just trying to be that
Yeah.
guy, be a coffee snob, whatever. It's not that bad." And then I was like, "Wow!" There's in Wellington, where I lived for a couple of years, there was only one Starbucks in the whole city.
Yeah.
I was like, "This is quite interesting." And I spoke to more people about it, and they said, "Yeah, it's terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible." And I think I was in Auckland, Newmarket, a couple of months ago, and I think it was the only place open that early. I had an
Yeah.
early, so I was in going to a new FM interview, and I had a Starbucks, long black. It was terrible,
Yeah.
man. It's so bad.
No. Yeah.
It actually is bad.
Yeah. No, Starbucks here is not what it like. It has no prestige here.
Nope.
Like I remember back in where I grew up in Kuwait, people were just in general obsessed with American culture, and Starbucks was kind of the epitome of American culture.
Of course.
So in one mall, it was like the longest mall in the Middle East. It had, I kid you not, swear to God, God's my witness. It had a total of at one point it had 16 Starbucks in one mall.
What?
16 Starbucks in one mall.
16.
16, I swear to God.
That's brutal.
Insane. And it's not like any of them were like empty. Obviously, like there's a reason that there's 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
But I think as well, what's interesting is Starbucks as a concept is it is one of those classic like big brands. People talk
Yeah.
about sort of like Google, Amazon,
Yeah.
Apple, or whatever. Starbucks, which is interesting because all the others are kind of like major web service
Yeah.
providers in whatever realm, whereas Starbucks is a physical storefront.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And yeah, you're completely right. It is very Americanized, but it's also completely global.
Yeah.
It's almost it's like the coffee McDonald's, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly.
everywhere. People have negative views about it, and there's all sorts of issues with the supply chain and everything
Yeah.
else. But yeah, it is everywhere.
Yeah, and so they're in the news because they typically write your name on the cup, but 9 times out of 10, have you had actually had experience with this? Does Starbucks write your name incorrect?
Yes, no, it's interesting you say this, but I genuinely have. I mean, even when actually when I did it in Newmarket, I think they typed it.
Oh,
Now I
okay.
think sometimes they
Oh,
do.
yeah, yeah,
They
'cause-
type it on a little label.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
they put the sticker on the cup
that's
now.
it. The sticker. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
fair, fair, fair,
But
fair.
but no, but I think you are totally right. In a lot of places, they do still do the writing,
Yeah.
and obviously, even with a typing, you can still type it
Yeah, of course.
incorrectly. But yeah, gosh, goodness knows what they actually did to my name. But so many times, either myself or people I've been with would
Yeah.
say they spelt the name wrong, and yeah, it's genius.
It's genius. Why? Because the second that happens, you're like, you're almost more than welcome to like share it with your friends or your social people, and so you just take a photo of it, and suddenly you've just did essentially like a free ad for Starbucks.
Their logo is right on that cup,
Yeah.
right next to where your name is written. So as soon as you take that picture,
Yeah.
you're uploading it. It's there. It's done. And I remember I mean, years and years ago, but it actually came. I thought I was so smart because it came to me. I was like, oh my gosh. Of course it's deliberate. Of course
Yeah.
because it happens so much
Yeah.
but also with very, very simple names, like
Yeah, yeah.
very, very
Yeah.
easy, straightforward names. So I was like, okay, come on. Like,
Yeah, I
this
think
is
the
crazy.
example that we had in the newsletter is like somebody said to the register is like, my name is Mark with a C. And they had CARK.
Cark. I remember like 10 years ago, because it's old, that one.
Yeah.
It's really, really old. I remember at one of my old jobs, literally just before I went to uni. So what's that, like 13 years ago? And my friend was joking about it with me. And because it's so funny. It is so funny. Like
Yeah.
Mark with the C and calling it Cark is just genius. But
Yeah.
but they almost let the cat out of the bag with that one. You know what I mean? Like when you
It's
do it
too
like
much.
that, it's too much. It's too obvious, but it is funny.
But I think also like an idea of that is like, or like I guess a byproduct of that is that when you do that, your followers or your people that have seen that want to go and test it out for themselves, kind of thing.
Yes, definitely.
So
But
yeah,
yeah, no, you're completely right, and I think as well, it's just constant visibility, right? It's like that's the thing with like say McDonald's and Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Those logos are so ingrained in us because
Yeah.
we've seen them everywhere, not
Yeah.
just the actual stores, but like in leaflets, on newspaper, online,
sure.
everywhere. So Starbucks, it's just reinforcing that logo. And I think what's interesting is that when you're somewhere like, okay, tell you what, when I first came to Wellington, literally the moment I landed,
Yeah.
and I was like looking around for food, and I saw a McDonald's, and it gives you that sense of like familiarity, right? That sense of comfort. You're like, okay, I'm in somewhere that's not this crazy foreign land. There's
Yeah.
something recognizable. So I think Starbucks, in doing this, that's their pursuit, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to normalize themselves in our mind, which they did.
It's their shtick, I guess.
It is their shtick completely. Yeah. Super
Um,
smart.
I feel like it's, I don't know, like it's not really a big thing nowadays. I feel like it's become like a norm, like the whole, like people don't really give a fuck if you misspell their name. I think like it's not really that big a deal.
No, you're completely right. But I think what was upload worthy was the creativity within the names, or just the how bad it is. So, like for example, say someone is called, I don't know, Sarah.
Yeah.
Obviously, if the common misconception of spelling Sarah wrong would be like without the H, for
Yeah.
example. But I think what they were doing was doing like SAIRAH, like
Yeah.
so,
Sair.
and they'd be like, oh my gosh, look. So it's not just they spelled my name wrong. It'd be, oh, look how badly they spelled my name.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get it this wrong?
Yeah.
And I think, and I don't know if I'm treading on slightly dodgy ground here, but I think because
Very
with London being, I'm so proud of how beautifully diverse it is. I think a lot of people maybe thought that, oh, okay, English isn't, for a lot of people, not their first language. So hey, it's totally fine. That's why people's names are misspelled.
Yeah.
But when you're in like I don't know, like Surrey, and your name is like Bob, and it's being misspelled. It's like, well, hang on a minute, what's
Bob with
going
a
on here? Yeah, literally, right, Cobb.
Yeah. But I think like the main takeaway, I guess, from both of the news articles that we just read today is that stop clip farming. They're both clip farming.
They are clip farming.
Stop clip farming.
And also, I think we as people and as consumers, we need to check our own judgment and say to ourselves, actually, if this sounds crazy and if we're talking about it, it's probably deliberate.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the YAP podcast. This has been Abdel. This has been Curls. Thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, guys. Thank you so much.